how outside is nice and it's raining now. Just lovely. That's look at the fog. So I went to med school in 2013, and because I was going to church, but the church there was a Russian and English church, so Russian church met in the mornings, so the English church met in the evenings. So I would meet with my English students who were also Adventists in the evenings. However, in the mornings I would listen to online evangelists. The evangelists I would listen to, I remember listening to Eric Walsh. From I was in Jamaica, I was listening to him. Christopher Hudson, Dwayne Lemon, and then I got on to Elder Elvin Bridges, who I believe runs a ministry called Living Manna Ministries. Don't call me on that, but I'll link it below, right? Anyways, he was talking about we have to move to the country and we can't raise our children in the cities, and for what is to come upon the earth, and as Christians and followers of God and Adventists, we should know better. So anyways, we're getting some rain, guys. So I said, no problem. What I'm going to do is I am going to study more into this. So I got the book by Ellen G. White and I read it online, of course, and I was totally converted. And Elvin Bridges would have, he had a lot of series, or what they call it, camp meetings, where he did series on how to choose a country property, and he would visit different properties and say, okay, this is a good property, this is not a good property. He would give it a grading score out of 10 and say, oh, this is a 7, this is a 8. So that gave me an idea of what I also wanted on this conversion journey to country living. All right. Now, with that being said, this is now 2017, 2018 that I am sold on this country living journey, and I'm calling my mother now into it, and I'm saying, Mommy, this is, I come home one summer and it's hot and the loud music and it's just uncomfortable. We were comfortable in our home, but our surroundings were uncomfortable. Someone said, Mommy, this can't work. And what was your response to that, Mommy?
I was saying, boy, I work hard to build this house and I'm not going to sell it and leave. I'm getting old. I can't manage that again.
So she said, I can't build again. And I said, I can't build again.
Right. But you keep pressing. She's like a ticks. Anything she said, she will not stop until she gets what she wants.
Yes, yes.
So I started to look in. We prayed about it and we started looking. I started to look at in St. Mary, and I looked at St. Thomas also, and Portland. I was very interested in Portland. So
let me interject you there. So the looking started in 2019.
Yeah.
So I finished med school 2019, and my husband is abroad, so I had the baby at that time. So I said, okay, let me go for a year. Let me take a year and not just start working at the same time, but give my child a year and spend time together as a family. In this time, I was saying we should be looking, but of course I'm away, so I'm putting the pressure on her to look. And I remember saying I wanted to only work at. I remember praying and asking God where in Jamaica I should live, because I know it's not where we lived in Greater Portmore at the time, because those were mattress boxes and it's hot, and if you've never flushed them toilet, I'm exaggerating, of course, yeah, I hear it, but yeah, it was very close. And if you never play any music, you hear it, that is for sure, right? Or talk too loud. So I said, okay, what am I going to do? And I prayed about it, and the Lord kind of, I felt impressed about two parishes. It was Manchester and Portland, and I shared that with Mommy, right? Now, investigating, I realized that as an intern, I couldn't work at the hospital in Portland. So I said, okay, Manchester. This brings me now to January 2020. I applied to Mandeville Regional Hospital, and I said, okay, I want to work there, and Mommy knows about this. And before that, let me just tell you, when I finished med school, I got through for KPH. I don't know if you remember, or Spanish Town, one of them. And I told them I don't want to work in Spanish Town or KPH. And they said, okay, December 20, at the end as well, December 2019, they called me with the same thing again. They said KPH or Spanish Town, and I said no. And I applied to Mandeville Regional Hospital, right? And I was abroad now, and I was saying, Lord, what am I going to do? Because I'm in the US, so I'm saying, should I pursue country living in the US or in Jamaica? And there was a UK country living, SDA country living UK Facebook group that basically I sent out a prayer request in there. Remember, it's not a Jamaican group, it's a UK group. And in the UK group, I said, I'm asking the Lord if I should do country living in Jamaica or in the US, and I'm asking for prayers. And somebody commented, and this person is a very dear friend of mine now. Somebody commented and said, come to rural Manchester. Remember, I didn't tell them where I was thinking about. I just commented in the group, and they said, come to rural Manchester, and my family and I will help you to get a tiny off-the-grid, to set up a tiny off-the-grid dwelling. That was an answer to my prayers, because I'm like, I never tell anybody where I wanted to go, and I already applied to Manavy Regional Hospital. So they said Manchester, and that narrowed it down for me. So I had asked for a family, that the Lord would send a family who was practicing country living, and he did that. I thought this was the answer to my prayer, so I connected with that person. At this time now, I am bothering mommy and I'm calling mommy. So what's going on your end?
Yes, I wasn't convinced at first, but then as she continues to nag me about it and calling, and I said, let me pray about it and start looking. So I was looking in Portland, St. Thomas, St. Mary. Didn't hear anything. So one day somebody bring a paper to me and said there was some place selling in a place in Manchester. I heard about somewhere in Manchester now, and we even lost on our way. But we did find the place, and I did not like it, you know. But a grave was on the land, and it was so close, very close to other people.
You don't want to grave on the land, and we always, based on the specifications that we got when we watched Elvin Bridges. Because I kept sending her Elvin Bridges, and I thought about that, mommy.
Yeah, she would send me Elvin Bridges every day, every Sabbath. She would send me, and then she would say, Mommy, you're not looking. And I said, I'm praying and I'm looking. And
remember, so mommy don't drive.
Right.
So I'm pressuring her, but it's hard for her. She's working too.
Right. So is my husband would have to take me. Her father, he would have to take me. And he wasn't much for it. He wasn't convinced about the country living. He was thinking about country living, but St. James said he wanted to go back where he comes from. And I didn't want to go back, so I just prayed about it. And the Lord said, just continue praying and looking. One day I was praying, and as I came off my knee, my cousin called and said, there's a beautiful piece of land. He said, strike the deal, send the money and pay on it. Because I was praying, I know it was God who answered this prayer. No,
you were praying. And as you prayed, and you got up off your knee, the phone ring, right?
Yes.
So that you say, this is God, right?
Yes, this is God. And so I did have some money, because the Lord said to me, you're looking land, save some money towards it. So I did have some money, and I sent it off the following day, even though I did not see the land. So when Stasia came home in the summer, we come by to see the land. But I prayed and I asked God, if this is where you want us to go, if this is your plan for us, give me a sign. The sign that I told him was that when I come, let rain for the day. But he showed me a vision before that when I come to
the dream?
It's a dream. He showed me a dream that when I come, we are going to go next door, and a little boy is going to come before the van, and he only have on brief. He was about 3 years old. And so I was feeling disappointed when I come and the rain didn't fall. And Stasia said to me, Mommy, are you sure this is where the Lord wants us to? This is the place the Lord have for us? And I said yes, because I remembered vividly that while I was praying and I came off my knee, the phone rang. So we went into the van now, leaving the property, and Mr. Thompson said he's going to go next door and ask the people who cultivate potatoes on the land to cease from doing it, because we are the new owner.
Mr. Thompson is the person who we came down here, and he was the one directing us to show us the land.
Yeah. So we went into the van, and when we went over there, the little boy came right before the van. When the van stopped, the little boy and the Holy Spirit said, that's the vision. See the vision there. And so I know it was confirmed that this is where the Lord wants us to go.
But you know, so my takeaway from this is, so far, is pray, but you can't just pray, you have to act. You were saving.
Yes.
You weren't only saving, you were searching.
Yes.
So you can't be searching and your hands are empty.
Right.
You have to be putting down one and two things, right? To be able to say, okay, God, whenever God says go, I'm ready to go.
Yes.
I have the resources to go. We looked and we said, God, we don't see the money. We don't see the money. I was not working. Mommy was working. Daddy was working. But I was not working just yet. And because I knew this was the price we wanted, right after that I was with you for about a month in Portmore, and then I moved to Manchester with Sky by myself. She was 1. And I said, if this is where we're going to go, it's better I'm down here. So I rented a place and I'm down here and I'm not yet working. I had expected to work in September. That didn't happen. They didn't start observership till November. And they placed me at Bapen Hospital. I'm still praying for Mandeville Hospital Regional. And then after that now, then over time, it just happened. The day before, they called me and tell me, report to Mandeville Regional Hospital. And I started working there and I lived down here. And as my mother said, my father wasn't necessarily for this place. Not that he wasn't for country living, because he's a countryman, farmer. We'll get into that later down to show you, the things that he has done. Trust me. But we realized that this is where God wanted us to be. And so they kept coming down. My mother mostly would come by herself. Daddy would come on Sabbaths and we spend Sabbath down here and then go back. And then remember what was happening in COVID, where you really got that push?
Yes, when I see how COVID locked you down in your homes and if people can't get to go to the market and to the supermarket, and it was a case, I said, well, this is a sign that greater things are coming.
Right.
So let us...
And you have to go to the supermarket based on your last name, some days, this days. Not only that, because you are an essential worker, you could go to work. But you remember you said one time you were going and you said at 10 o'clock, you leave from 6 o'clock and even 10 o'clock because of the checks, you couldn't reach work, you have to turn back.
Yes.
She was still in Portmore at 10 a.m. even though she leaves 6 o'clock. And he said one time as well that he was carrying you and it's like they were interrogating him and saying, you alone can go but he can't go. And you're like, well, he's my driver.
Yes.
What am I going to do? So she said, these things kind of make you know, say, if I'm going to be locked down, I'd love to be locked down on a property where I can walk around where I can walk around my house, where I can have freedom to plant what I want to plant. So if you're locked down, you're not waiting for the shop to open, you're not waiting for the supermarket to open. You have some sort of self-sufficiency, somewhat, right? You're planting your own food, you're sorting out yourself. And these were the things that kind of help us. You want to say something, Mommy?
Yes, I was saying that. And also you have your own water supply because the Lord said your bread and water will be sure.
Right.
So when you plant your food and you have your own water supply, then you'll be fine.
Right. Whether you have a stream near you or you have a tank, so when it rains, you are catching all this water, right? You need to get to that. But the point is, so fast forward now. So we are honing on a location.
Yes.
This is the land. We are starting to do the lawyer work. I haven't started working, but we said this is what we are doing. Just bring it back a little now. I remember when we said we came here, we met Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Now, my friend that I mentioned that responded to my post on Facebook in that group, her last name is Thompson. And I remember after we left this property, I called her and I said to her, this is where we went. And she could tell us that she said they plant sweet potato on that land. I said, yes. She said, give me the name of the person who brought you to the land. And I told her, she said, that's my husband's uncle. So that was one first connection where I've never met this woman before. I've only spoken to her over the phone, WhatsApp and stuff. And I'm realizing that I made one connection with her, right? So I said, Lord, you're doing something here, right? Moving on now. When I started to rent, just going back to that, when I was going to rent the place, I told her where it was. She said, my best friend is right on that road. Right on that road. So you wouldn't, and they lived so close to me. When I moved come down here, remember it's me and the baby alone. I don't have no car. I don't know the place. If I need gas, if I need to go to the supermarket, anything at all, those people assisted me with. Trust me, they were a blessing. They are still a blessing to me and my family, and just angels, I'm telling you. They really work for the Lord. So those were two ways in which the Lord connected me to this land. Like he provided ways, he opened doors to let me confirm my faith, basically, to say, this is where you should be, right? Thank you so much for joining us. I hope it has been an encouragement. That's what I can say. I really hope it has been an encouragement, because this journey is not an easy journey. It's a faith walk, I can tell you that. Anything you want to say, Mommy, as it relates to that?
Yes, you have to. There are times when we never know we would have gotten through. We had problems with the lawyer and thing was just delayed. And more than all, there wasn't any paper for this property. But we still go ahead because we believe that God said you're going to get it. And we believe God said this was the property. Yes.
So even though it don't look, some people say, oh, there's no title, there's no this, there's no that. We're not doing it.
Right.